네, 로라입니다. 오늘의 일과를 시작하기 전에 한 30분 정도만 영어 공부를 하려고 해요. 정말 공부 말 그대로. 그래서 그냥 제가 하던 대로 설명하는 거 없이 그냥 제가 하던 대로 한 30분 정도 해보려고 합니다. 30분 알람 맞춰놓고 지금 다른 것들을 해야 할 일들이 있어서 30분 알람 맞춰놓고 뉴지에 들어와 있습니다. 뭘 읽을까? 아직도 여기는 투표 이야기인데 헤드라인으로 된 거니까 Over 2 million
So far, nearly 2.1 million
over 2 million early votes in Georgia Senate runoff the election.
people have cast their So far, nearly 2.1 million people have cast their votes early in Georgia's Senate runoff elections. Now, that's more than a quarter of Georgia's registered voters. Now, the date to keep in mind here is January 5th. The outcome of these two races will determine which party holds control of the U.S. Senate.
The January 5th runoff election will determine which party holds control of the U.S. Senate. runoff election. 결선 투표. runoff election. So far, nearly 2.1 million people have cast their votes early in Georgia's Senate runoff elections. That's more than a quarter of Georgia's registered voters. That's more than a quarter. Okay. The date to keep in mind here is January 5th. The outcome of these two races will determine which party holds control of the U.S. Senate. Okay. COVID relief government spending bill in flux. Unemployment benefits run out tomorrow. Really? 뭐라고 되죠? 일자리 없는 사람들에게 주는 어떤 지원금인 것 같은데 그게 내일이면 바닥이 난대요. And millions could lose their homes. Unemployment benefits.
Americans are still waiting to see if they'll get some help. Unemployment benefits run out tomorrow, and millions could lose their homes if an eviction moratorium expires at the end of the year. And there's growing frustration among many Americans.
This has been so mishandled. We have no idea when it's going to end. And so these Band-Aids and these little stopgaps are not acceptable.
They're going to leave the Capitol with their jobs, with their benefits, with their health care, while the average American has to suffer.
So if a deal isn't reached, the government is headed for a partial shutdown on Monday. Yesterday, House Republicans blocked Democrats from voting to increase direct payments for Americans to $2,000. That's the amount that President Trump now says he wants.
Believe it or not, Democrats agree with the president, at least to the extent that we need to sign this bill now.
Okay, unemployment benefits 이게 뭔가? Unemployment benefits provide you with temporary income when you lose your job through no fault of your own. 본인의 과실이 아니고 직업을 잃었을 때 보조금을 받는 거. 일시적으로 그 월급, 수입을 얻는 것이 unemployment benefits. 우리나라의 그 뭐지? 다른 생각 안 나네. 아무튼 그 what's that? Something like 실업기금? The money partly replaces your lost earnings and helps you pay expenses while looking for new work. The benefits from taxes your former employer paid and not based on financial need. Oh, okay. And millions could lose their homes. Americans are still waiting to see if they will get some help. Unemployment benefits run out tomorrow, and millions could lose their homes if an eviction
eviction, eviction,
eviction 되찾음. If an eviction moratorium expires. Eviction moratorium. What's this? Eviction moratorium. Eviction moratorium. Eviction moratorium 뜻 강제 퇴거 6개월 유예. 아하. 오케이. 지금 집세가 밀려가지고 집에서 쫓겨나게 된 상황인가 봐요. 그래서 나라에서 지금 강제 퇴거 6개월 유예 이거를 빨리 발효해야 된다. 사람들 다 집에서 쫓겨난다. 강제 퇴거 6개월 유예. Eviction moratorium expires at the end of the year. There's growing frustration among many Americans. This has been so mishandled. This has been so mishandled. We have no idea when it's going to end, said Mega Fernandez. So these band-aids, 이러한 방지책, band-aid. Okay, 임시 처방 미봉책. So these band-aids and these little stopgaps are not acceptable. Stopgaps. Band-aids, stopgaps, 임시 방편, stopgaps. They're going to leave the capital. They're going to leave the capital with their jobs, with their benefits, with their health care, while the average American has to suffer. 직업도 잃고 보조금도 못 받고 건강보험도 자격 상실하게 된다. Said Eden Schultz of Lawmakers. If a deal isn't reached, the government is headed for a partial shutdown on Monday. 어떤 합의에 이르지 못하면 정부는 일부 셧다운을 할 예정이다. 계획이다. 셧다운. 폐쇄. 뭐라고 해야 될까? 임시 폐쇄? 일시 폐쇄? Yesterday, House Republicans blocked Democrats from voting to increase the direct payments for Americans to $2,000. 공화당에서 막았구나. 직접적으로 돈을 지불하는 이 방식. Block Democrats from voting to increase. 직접 지불하는 그 지원금을 증가시킬 것에 대해서 투표하는 것을 막았다. 미국인들에게 $2,000를 지불하는. That's the amount President Trump now says he wants. Believe it or not, Democrats agree with the president. At least to the extent that we need to sign this bill now, said Republican Steny Hoyer. 이분의 이름이 정확히 뭔가? Steny Hoyer. 오케이. 방금 읽은 내용이 정확한지 확인을 하려면 연합뉴스에 들어가서 여기서 다루려나? 안 다룰 것 같은데. 그러면 아리랑 뉴스. They don't provide Korean news article. So 미국 지원금? 키워드가 뭐였지? Unemployment benefits. 실업수당, 실업급여. 미국 실업급여에 관련된 소식이 없네요. 재정 절벽, 수백만의 원조 지원. 오케이. 다른 거 보는 걸로. What else? U.S. to require.
Over the last couple of days, you've probably heard about a new variant of the virus in the UK. So we're staying on top of what happens next. The U.S. will soon require travelers from Britain to get a negative COVID-19 test before their flight. The U.S. is the latest country to impose travel restrictions. British officials say the new variant in the UK is more contagious. The CDC says the travel requirement will go into effect on Monday.
U.S. to require negative COVID-19 tests for travelers coming from UK. The U.S. is the latest country to impose travel restrictions on the UK. Over the last couple of days, you probably heard about a new variant of the virus in the UK. 영국 상황이 아주 심각하네요. So we're staying on top of what happens next. The U.S. will soon require travelers from Britain to get a negative COVID-19 test. What is that? The U.S. will soon require travelers from Britain to get a negative COVID-19 test before their flight. The U.S. is the latest country to impose travel restrictions. British officials say the new variant in the UK is more contagious. Oh my gosh. The CDC says the travel requirement will go into effect Monday. CDC, U.S. death toll could reach 419,000 by mid-January. This means hospitals will likely continue to strain their resources. Continue to strain their resources as severe COVID patients flood in.
As many Americans travel to be with family and friends for the holidays or celebrate virtually, the reality is millions will unfortunately have an empty seat at the table this year. Over 328,000 people have died from the virus in the U.S. You can see the deaths rising, especially over this last month. And now the CDC projects the death toll could reach as high as 419,000 by mid-January. So that means hospitals will continue to be tight on space and resources. Over 120,000 people are battling the virus from a hospital bed this morning. Now, I want to put that into perspective for you. That's almost 3 times the number of people that fit in an average MLB stadium. And you can see here where new cases are growing the fastest. California becoming the first state to surpass 2 million reported cases. And as vaccines roll out, healthcare workers say these shots can't come soon enough.
Every day I look into the eyes of someone who's struggling to breathe, who's struggling to, get well. They want to be home with their family. I don't know how much more we can continue to care for.
California recorded 500,000 cases in the last 2 weeks alone. And next month, Governor Gavin Newsom says the state could face a record-breaking 100,000 hospitalizations.
This means hospitals will likely continue to strain their resources as severe COVID patients flood in. As many Americans travel to be with family and friends for the holiday or celebrate virtually, the reality is millions will unfortunately have an empty seat at the table this year. As many Americans travel to be with blah blah for the holiday, the reality is millions will, unfortunately, have an empty seat at the table this year. Empty seat at the table. Empty seat at the table. Empty seat at the table. 그냥 식탁의 빈자리를 말하는 건가? I don't know. I'm not sure. Over 328,000 people have died from the virus in the U.S. You can see deaths rising over the last month. And now the CDC projects the death toll could reach as high as 419,000 by mid-January. That means hospitals will continue to be tight on space and resources. 공간도 없어지고 사용할 수 있는 자원도 줄어들고. Over 120,000 people are battling the virus from a hospital bed this morning. To put that into perspective, that's almost 3 times the number of people that fit in an average MLB stadium. 오케이. 이 경기장을 3배 정도 채울 양이다 그 얘기하는 것 같은데. You can see here where new cases are growing the fastest. To put that into perspective, that's almost 3 times the number of people that fit in an average MLB stadium. Yeah, right. Image. Yeah, okay. You can see here where new cases are growing the fastest. California becoming the first state to surpass 2 million reported cases. And as the vaccines roll out, 계속 나오네, roll out. The vaccines roll out, healthcare workers say those shots can't come soon enough. 금방 이 약도 모자라게 될 거다. Every day I look into the eyes of someone that's struggling to breathe, who's struggling to get well. They want to be home with their family, said nurse Jenny Carillo. I don't know how much more we can continue to care for. California recorded 500,000 cases in the last 2 weeks alone, and the next month, Government Gavin Newsom says the state could face a record-breaking 100,000 hospitalization. 10만 명의 입원 환자가 곧 생길지도 모른다. Alright. How many time do I have? 한 11분 남았네요. 11분. Election, coronavirus, 연합뉴스를 볼까요? 연합뉴스, 우리나라 소식이니까. There's English version, right? South Korea's virus cases hit all-time high despite tougher distancing rules. South Korea's daily new coronavirus cases hit a new record high on Friday, despite the most stringent social distancing.
Stringent.
The most stringent social distancing rules to contain the winter wave of the virus. South Korea reported 1,241 more COVID-19 cases, including 1,216 local infections, raising the total caseload to 54,770, according to the Korea Disease Control and Prevention Agency. The tally. The tally marked a hike. The tally marked a hike from 985 on Thursday, according to the Public Health Agency. The hike is mainly blamed on 288 new cases at Dongbu Detention Center. What is this? Detention Center. 유치장? In eastern Seoul, in one of the largest cluster infections in South Korea. 구치소. All right. The second mass outbreak at the detention center raised the total number of infections linked to the facility nationwide to 515, the Justice Ministry said. People wait in a long line around a large Christmas tree to get tested for COVID-19 at a screening center in Seongnam, just south of Seoul, on Christmas Eve on December 24th, 2020. Later in the day, health authorities and local government said 726 new cases were confirmed from 12 a.m. to 6 p.m. Friday, 58 more than at the same time on Thursday. The Greater Seoul area accounted for 68.6%. With 498 cases. South Korea has banned the gatherings of 5 or more people across the country, and the most stringent social distancing rules mean to contain the spread of the virus. Yoon Tae-ho, a senior official at the Ministry of Health and Welfare, asked people to cancel gatherings and stay at home, saying tougher social distancing rules and antivirus measures could reduce the number of infections in the new year. The government warned that violators of the social distancing rules will face a fine of up to 3 million won. The government also shut down ski resort. Okay. Ski resort and popular venues for watching the sunrise on New Year's Day to slow the spread of the virus during the Christmas and New Year's holiday season. On Friday, Prime Minister Chung Se-kyun called on health authorities and the local government to respond strictly to violation of social distancing rules. Nothing some restaurants and bars entertained guests after 9 p.m. after locking their doors and switching off signs. The vast majority of the nation is faithfully adhering to the government's antivirus measures despite the inconvenience and the pain they entail. But if a few cheat for their own gains, it is difficult to expect results from participating in antivirus measures, Chung said during a government COVID-19 pandemic response meeting. South Korea has been applying level 2.5 social distancing rules, the second highest of the 5-tier system, in the Greater Seoul area, home to half of its 51.6 million population, and the level 2 rules in the rest of the country. Health authorities have said they are aiming to contain the current wave of the pandemic without raising virus curves to level 3 on concerns of the impact on the economy. The authorities plan to decide Sunday on whether to raise the country's social distancing guidelines to the highest level 3, Yoon said. Of the newly identified local infections, 550 cases were reported in Seoul and 257 cases in Gyeonggi province that surround the capital. Incheon, west of Seoul, reported 55 more cases. Other
municipality,
municipality 지방자치제, 지방자치 당국 municipality
municipality,
municipality, municipality, municipality, municipality. Other municipalities reported new infections, with South Chungcheong province adding 79 cases and the North Gyeongsang province reporting 67 new cases. Okay. South Korea reported 17 additional deaths from COVID-19, raising the death toll to 773. The fatality rate was 1.41%. The number of seriously or critically ill COVID-19 patients reached 311, compared with 291 from the previous day. The Public Health Agency said the total number of people released from quarantine after making full recoveries stood at 38,048, up 623 from the previous day. Meanwhile, South Korea reported 25 imported cases, increasing the total to 5,425. Of the newly imported cases, 15 were South Korean and 10 were foreigners. They came from the United States, the Philippines, Uzbekistan, Indonesia, Russia,
Kazakhstan,
Poland, Finland, Democratic Republic of Congo, and Niger. Okay. What else? Be okay to keep monetary easing in 2021 to support economic recovery. The Bank of Korea said, 이게 마이크를 지금 대고 있는데 마이크가 화면을 가려서 너무 불편해요. The Bank of Korea said Friday it will maintain an accommodative monetary policy next year to help the nation's economic recovery from the pandemic, but it will closely watch the side effects of monetary easing. Under the directions of its monetary policy in 2021, the Bank of Korea will maintain the easing stance of its monetary policy to support the recovery in growth and to ensure the rise in consumer prices will be stabilized at around the target level, the BOK said in a statement. Next year, the BOK said it will effectively operate its loan program to support small and medium-sized firms hit by the pandemic. The BOK will also take its market stabilization. The BOK will also take its market stabilization measures in foreign exchange and financial markets in a timely manner, while seeking to sign currency swap deals with central banks of other countries, according to the statement. The global economy is expected to show a modest recovery next year, helped by progress in vaccine development and stimulus measures by advanced economies. The BOK said. Advanced economies. 선진 경제권, right? South Korea's economy is likely to grow at around 3% next year. 3%나 성장을 기대한다고요? Wow. But uncertainties remain due to a global resurgence of the virus, the BOK said. The BOK's monetary policy direction also came as the country's consumer prices are expected to rise 0.5% from year earlier in 2020. The BOK expects consumer price to grow 1% next year, but that too will fall far. What is this? But the two will fall far short. But the two will fall far short of its long-term target of 2%. But the two will fall far short. 요 표현 요거 재밌네요. Two will fall far short of its long-term target of 2%. Consumer price, 물가지수를 이야기하는 것인가? 소비자 물가, alright. The last month, the BOK held its policy rate unchanged at a record low of 0.5%, while slightly revising up this year's economic outlook amid growing concerns over the nation's third wave of coronavirus infections, driven by signs of a modest recovery in exports. Exports. The BOK revised up this year's economic growth outlook to 1.1% contraction, compared with the previous forecast of a 1.3% retreat. The BOK expected the economy to grow 3% next year, faster than a previous forecast of 2.8% expansion for 2021. 오케이, 여기까지 하겠습니다.